Anthony Joshua has been opening up on the whole Lennox Lewis situation, the feud between the two of them. He says that Lennox Lewis has never reached out to him before, and that when they did meet up, I think in Jamaica, after Anthony Joshua won his gold medal at the 2012 Olympics, he traveled out to Jamaica to see Lennox Lewis of, I guess, his own volition. You know, he went out there with the intent, and it was he who reached out to Lewis, not vice versa. But while he was there, according to AJ, according to Eddie Hearn, Lennox Lewis wanted to sign him in some capacity, either be his advisor, manager, trainer, whatever the case may be. But Anthony Joshua went back to the UK after that and decided to sign with Eddie Hearn and hook up with Tony Sims, Robert McCracken, etc. So, you know, that's what he says about Lennox Lewis. Lewis has never reached out to him. And since that time, obviously, again, Lewis has never reached out to him. And with regards to him calling Lennox Lewis a clown, you know, he says Lewis is always attacking him and, I guess, taking Deontay Wilder's side in this rivalry that he's got with Wilder. And when AJ called him a clown, he wasn't calling him a clown insinuating that he wasn't a good boxer. Okay, because that's what Tyson Fury did, by the way. When Tyson Fury had his beef with Lennox Lewis, Tyson Fury was basically trying to make out as though Lennox Lewis was not a good boxer, that he didn't have a chin, that he got knocked out by bums, etc., etc. You go back and look at what Tyson Fury actually said. Whereas with Anthony Joshua calling Lewis a clown, he's talking about his character as a human being in general, at least with regards to the way Lewis has been behaving towards AJ. And as far as I'm concerned, that's fair enough. Just because somebody was a great boxer and AJ acknowledges that Lennox Lewis was a beast, he was a great boxer, it doesn't mean that they're going to be a perfect human being or even close. There are plenty of people who are extremely talented in their particular field and extremely successful who are actually scumbags. And I'm not saying Lennox Lewis is a scumbag, but I'm just saying in general, being successful or being good at something doesn't mean you're a nice person or a good person. You might be a horrible person. You might be a really envious and resentful and spiteful kind of person. And so with Lennox Lewis, he's just a human being at the end of the day, irrespective of all his achievements. So the way he's conducted himself towards AJ, I think AJ is perfectly within his rights to respond the way that he did. And as Eddie Hearn and many other people have said, I personally like it. I like the fact that AJ is coming out and he's not holding anything back anymore. And he's just saying what he really feels about particular people and particular situations. And we certainly get the impression that AJ is speaking from the heart a lot more in the lead up to this Andy Ruiz rematch than he was in the lead up to the first Andy Ruiz fight. And is that not what people have been wanting for all these years? Is that not what people have been criticizing AJ for not doing? Speaking from the heart and speaking his mind? Okay, so now that we've got it, let's not complain. Right? I've long said that AJ's ultra PC, media trained, on-screen persona is extremely dull. But I was willing to accept that, obviously, because he's a boxer. And for a boxer, the most important thing from my perspective is that he's exciting and entertaining in the ring. Doesn't have to be out exciting and entertaining outside the ring. It's always a bonus. Don't get it twisted. It just adds to the entertainment and the theatricality of it. I was always a big fan growing up of WWF, which is now WWE. I was a big fan of wrestling. I like the theatricality. So, you know, I can appreciate that. But at the same time, with boxing, the most important thing is what takes place in the ring. Because you get certain fighters who are very theatrical outside the ring and they talk all kinds of trash and what have you. But when they get in the ring, they're very boring in their boxing style. I'd rather the opposite. I'd rather a guy who's boring outside the ring, but when he gets in the ring, he's exciting. You know, ideally, you'd like both. Ideally, you'd like a guy who's exciting outside the ring and inside the ring. But if I have to choose one or the other, inside the ring is way better, you know, in terms of being exciting while you're actually trading punches with your opponent rather than when you're trading verbal insults and whatnot. So yeah, have a watch of this particular interview. He's been doing several during his promotional tour for this Andy Ruiz rematch. This was on Fight Hub TV, very underrated YouTube channel. And yeah, just have a watch of this if you haven't seen it already, and let me know what you think in the comment section below, because I did see some people in the wake of AJ calling Lennox Lewis a clown, saying, how can he call Lewis a clown? Lewis has achieved this, that, and the other. But as I've already explained in the video, it's not to do with his achievements, it's to do with his conduct in this particular situation. You know, just because he's achieved a lot doesn't mean he's going to be right, you know, in all his opinions and in all his views. It doesn't mean he hasn't got flaws. It doesn't mean he hasn't got biases. And it doesn't mean that he isn't prone to let his ego get out of control a little bit. So, and I remember watching a Lennox Lewis documentary years ago. I think it was it was either a documentary in the lead up to the Frank Bruno fight, because I've got several VHS tapes from back in the days. And there was a couple VHS tapes. I can't remember what one of them is called now, but I had a couple VHS tapes. One of them was basically it showed the Bruno fight, and it showed the build up to the Bruno fight and all that kind of stuff. And the other tape, and these were tapes I bought, and the other one was just a documentary about Lennox Lewis's career. And yet there was another one which I think was on the BBC. And in one of these documentaries, Lennox Lewis talked about the fact that he's got a very big ego. They asked him, do you have a big ego? He's like, yeah, I got a big ego. I got a very big ego. Well, the ego don't leave you. It might diminish slightly as you get older and you've achieved great things in your career and whatnot, but it's still going to be there to some extent. You're still going to have a certain amount of competitive spirit, particularly when you've been competing like Lennox Lewis has since he was very small. I think he started boxing when he was 12 years old or something like that in Canada. So, you know, and extensive amateur career, extensive pro career, that kind of competitive spirit never really leaves you 100%. And in fact, before I end this, Anthony Joshua talked about the fact that Lennox Lewis has never reached out to him, but Vladimir Klitschko has reached out to him on many occasions and apparently talks to AJ quite frequently. And I've spoken in the past about how I think personality-wise, AJ and Klitschko are somewhat similar. I think AJ is a naturally more aggressive boxer in the ring than Klitschko, although Klitschko was a lot more aggressive in his early career than he went on to be later. Same with Lennox Lewis, actually. Lennox Lewis was pretty aggressive in his early career, but once he got knocked out by Oliver McCall, that's when he became a lot more cautious after that in some of his fights anyway. But yeah, Vladimir Klitschko, I think, is somebody who can give Anthony Joshua tremendous advice and apparently is doing so behind the scenes. I wonder if Klitschko is reaching out to Joshua in the lead up to this Andy Ruiz rematch. It'd be interesting to know what Klitschko is advising him with, whether it's, you know, boxing stuff, whether it's mental, because Klitschko's obviously been through these humiliating knockout defeats himself. So, you know, perhaps it's tactical stuff. Who knows? I personally would like to see Vladimir Klitschko become part of AJ's training setup in some capacity, even if he's just an advisor or somebody who comes in from time to time to tweak certain things or show him certain training methods. I would like to see it, because one thing that Spencer Fearon said, which I definitely agree with, is that AJ doesn't have enough boxing people in his team. I know he's achieved a tremendous amount because, you know, AJ has defended the fact that he doesn't have a lot of boxing people in his team. I know he's defended it and whatnot. He said, look what I've achieved in such a short space of time. But again, it's not, I mean, look what Lennox Lewis achieved before he got with Manny Stewart. Look what Vladimir Klitschko achieved before he got with Manny Stewart. So just because you've achieved a certain amount with a certain team, it doesn't mean that that team can take you as far as you can possibly go. You might have to bring people in to allow you to reach a whole new level, you know? So that's what I'll say about that. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about everything I've talked about in this video in the comment section below. It's happening, I'm out. Join me on Patreon. I upload a minimum of 2 podcasts every single week, covering a wide variety of controversial topics, as well as live stream Q&A sessions. Take a look on screen right now at some of the podcasts I've produced so far. For just $3 a month, the equivalent of about £2 a month, you get access to all my new podcasts and my entire back catalogue of past podcasts, including my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You can listen on your computer or on your smartphone or tablet by downloading the Patreon app from the Google Play Store or the App Store for free. The Patreon app also allows you to download each podcast in MP3. For less than the price of a cup of coffee, you get access to dozens of hours of exclusive content. It's easy to sign up, there's no contract, and you can cancel at any time. So come and join our community of free and critical thinkers by signing up with me here on Patreon today.